Hey guys, so here bringing you another video. Now welcome to patch 14.15 patch notes. Hopefully this will be a good one. I think, well, my hope and I think is what's going on is a bit of nerfs to AD carry would be nice. And I think a good answer to even help with that, with not directly nerfing AD carries, is buff to actual burst mages. Historically, that's who kills AD carries and assassins. But we'll get into it. I will mention I've got an absolute chronic headache. I've had one the whole day. But just to also mention, if you've not watched the earlier videos, Zed, please do. I kind of actually feel we're back to kind of the old me. And that was the first of the recordings that I started yesterday. And I'm going to be straight up. All the recordings yesterday and all the recordings today, we're back to being educational. We're back to being as positive as we can be. And I'm actually proud and happy with what I've made over the last 2 days. And I think that's something around 12 videos so far of kind of feeling like my old self. So please do give them a watch if you haven't as yet. As yeah, I think it's the content that I've been needing to do, and I think it's the content you guys have deserved for a very long time. But anyway, we'll get into the patch. Again, excuse if my headache is causing me to be a bit blah. I'll try my best to kind of go through it. Obviously, it goes without saying, I do these patch notes not just for your benefit, it's also for mine. So when I go play League more tomorrow or Thursday, I actually know the changes. A lot of players, even in high rating, don't look at patch notes. They don't look at what's actually going on. That's a mistake. You know, the amount of times I've seen people go into a match a day or two after patch, expecting a champion to be the same, and in the patch it got changed, is quite a lot. So, yeah. So we've got the highlights, which are nerfs to Aurelion Sol, Aurora, Ezreal, Leona, and Shyvana. So Ezreal is there. Obviously, he has kind of taken over a lot. Zeri's not there, which is a bit surprising because she's been very high up there too. But anyway, we're getting buffs to Talon, Varus, and Yasuo. But again, Varus, whenever you see him in the buff list, he's one of those, how do I say, he's quite pro-locked. He's got a very powerful kit. You can play him in multiple ways. You can fit him in multiple team comps. So he's a good flex pick for pro play. And yeah, a lot of the time he gets nerfed to the ground because the moment he's buffed up, pro play just picks him every game. So we'll see if that happens again. We've got adjustments to Akali, Cassiopeia, Aurelia, Skarner, Silas, Yone, and Zed. Again, adjustments don't necessarily mean buffs or nerfs. They can be shifting power from one ability to another. In terms of, you know, making a champion harder or easier. It could be a shifting power from one role to another. So again, it's not technically a nerf for the champion. It could be a nerf for a top lane variant, but a buff to a jungle variant. So that's what adjustment actually means. I have had one or two people say, what's adjustment? That's what adjustment is. It's not necessarily a buff or a nerf overall to a champion. It's doing something more. And then we have a lot of system changes. And obviously system changes are the background system items mainly, or runes. So we have got Abyssal Mask, boots in general, which I think are more defensive. They think the boots, I think, are a bit too easy and powerful to give you strength, which I kind of agree with. But then at the same term, it kind of sucks that Berserkers, the AD carry boot, is very powerful. And they even have an upgrade to that in late game, which no other boot does. So it's a bit... Cosmic Drive, Dark Harvest, Death Stance, Fleet Footwork, Hextech, Rocket Belt, Kraken Slayer, Static Shiv, Storm Surge, Void Staff, and Wit's End. And we have got a new skin line. I actually don't know if they're a new skin line. It might be. But Primordian, and then different various, whatever the hell you want to call them. I do know, and I don't know the detail of it, but I know the Aatrox variant has had some adjustments. Maybe people were unhappy about it. People gave feedback. And Riot actually has done some changes. So that's good. So, updates to ranked restrictions. What's this? We are testing a change to ranked restrictions on Korea server only. Okay. For now, I guess. If it works, they'll probably bring it elsewhere. From 14.15, which is this patch, onwards, ranked restricted players are required to win 3 games rather than complete 5 games to recover access to rank queue. This is a very good change. The amount of times, and again, I don't know if it's the same on Korea, but I presume it is. Humans, weirdly, are all pretty damn similar. The amount of times that if I, you know, and I do look up, like, my teammates or my opponents' match histories occasionally, especially if it's, like, a toxic person or they start hinting, I'll look up their match history and just see if they've been doing it more. The amount of times that a toxic person in their match history has got 5 normal games in a row and they're all just inting, running it down. And in essence, what they've done is lose 5 games in normals as quick as possible to get access back to ranked. And that's what obviously is ruining the experience for people that are just playing normal games, the non-ranked players. Because that's what a lot of the normal games players came out and said was like, hey, this kind of sucks for us because you're just throwing the toxic ranked players in and they're just throwing games to just get back into ranked as quick as possible. So this is a good change. This is a punishment. You don't have ranked, but you need to win. So they actively have to try. Now, again, it goes without saying, it's not going to fix their behavior. This is a punishment, not an actual, like, rehabilitation. Because imagine if they're actually trying in a normal game as a ranked-only player and they lose a game or two. They'll probably go absolutely nuts because it's delaying them getting into ranked more. But, again, that's a punishment. Don't be toxic. That's basically it. If you don't be toxic, you won't lose access to ranked in the first place. Ta-da! So I like this. They actually have to win games, which means they actively have to at least try to play well. For the normal players that have kind of seemed it... Well, they seem to have got the normal players have had a punishment from this. Not this change, but the one before of like, hey, toxic players, you're going to normals for 5 games in a row. So I think this is a way to appease the normal players, but still have a punishment for the ranked players. You might hear Maya barking because I think Queen Pleb is just getting home. So you might hear some woos. So champion change, first of the patch, which is a Carly, which I believe was an adjustment. She's barking. She's home. So the W cooldown reduced at higher ranks, and R damage increased and cooldown increased at lower ranks. Okay. So Akali should be more powerful early when trying to dominate her lane opponent instead of wanting to scale, is basically what they're going for. Now, the one thing it is worth mentioning, Akali is one of the few champions in League that without a single item in late game, her base combo does over 2,000 damage. It might even be like 2.5. It's a lot of damage for 0 items. It's always been a little bit of a touchy point for a champion that's not supposed to be a late game hyper carry, you know? So the W is now getting scaling. It's 20 seconds flat. It's now going from 20 to 16. So that's a good thing. There's no negative to that whatsoever. And then the ultimate, the initial damage is 80 to 2360. It's now 110 to 2330. Okay. All the ratios are the same. But in essence, what's happening is they're putting more early strength into it and taking away the same early strength they're putting in, 30 damage, they're taking away late. Obviously, it goes without saying, in late game, 30 base damage isn't that meaningful because by late game, you'll have the ability power that is giving you a lot of damage from the scaling. So it's just a pretty good early game change for Akali, to be honest. We'll see if it goes well, because Akali is one of those champions that never seems to be, like, healthy. She's either, like, really crazy or, you know, nerfed to the ground. And that's just because of her kit. It's a very powerful kit, it goes without saying. Aurora. So the thing with the new champion, new champions will always get changes. I don't think a new champion has ever been launched and then not really been featured in the next patch. The reason for it, just to explain the very quick premise of like why people, and I've seen it myself, it's like, Huzz, why can't they release a balanced champion? It's hard. So the reason why is, let's just say Riot in their employ of testing, let's just say they've got 4 full 5-man teams. And obviously they'll change them around in different places, but let's just say they have 4 full, 5-man teams. So they could, play 2 matches at a time all the time. That's 20 people employed to do testing full time. And I'm going to be honest, I don't even know if they'll have that many. But so if you have 6 months of testing, which by the way, they won't even have that amount of time. But even if you had 6 months of testing and you're playing, these testers are playing hours per day against each other. Obviously, only 1 person per game gets to play the new champ. Or if you're doing mirror matchups, 2 people per game play the new champion. The problem that you've got is even if you had 6 months of testing in that scenario of 20 people testing, in the first hour of the champion going live on the PBE, more games would have been done in 6 months of testing within internal Riot. And obviously Riot have already said that they don't really use the PBE as an inkling to balance, because it's too cowboy. Like, it's different ratings against each other. It's people lagging versus not lagging. It's hard to actually use the PBE as anything other than, will this break the game code wise? So when the champion actually comes on live server, again, in the first hour, the amount of people playing the new champion, it's in the tens of thousands. It's more data than Riot would have ever collected in 10 years of balancing or testing a champion in development. Like, it's that simple. So they might have in their minds, and you have to remember, it's kind of all the same people. It's the same people testing. It's the same employees. They'll have a way that they're thinking. All it takes is a few, in tens of thousands of people are playing a new champion. It only takes 1,000 of those players to kind of go, what if the champion does this? And maybe the 20 people at Riot never thought of that before. Well, then suddenly that's a whole thing that they didn't think about this champion. That's why. It's you cannot literally compare the data that they will get when a champion actually launches. A lot of them obviously get very quick hotfix buffs or nerfs, but usually they appear in the next patch in a pretty big way. So, and it's all 5 abilities are being changed. Probably nerfs, because again, a new champion usually either launches weak and then they panic over buff it when they should just leave it alone. It's a very common thing that Riot does. But also people are learning the champion, so it's that simple. So base movement speed from a passive, she's getting 5, but then she's getting less movement speed per level, so that's a nerf. The bonus movement speed per spirit is also going down, but there is, 3% nerf is considerable, but she is getting a slight AP ratio of it, but it's still probably a nerf. Q, the recast cooldown was a 0.5 seconds, now 0.1, so that's technically a buff. But the Q2 can no longer miss its original target. That's a quality of life buff, technically. It's just making it better. Across the Veil, the cooldown of it is going up by a big way. 4 seconds nerf every single rank. That's a big nerf. A lot less utility in lane phase. And then the invisibility breaking on auto attacks will now happen on launch of the auto instead of the pre-attack. Okay, it's more consistent. The E, the weirding, the dash speed is 800 speed. It's now 150 plus 2 times your movement speed. So if you have 350 movement speed, then times 2 of that, that's 700 plus 150. That's 850. So it could be quicker when you get movement speed. And the more movement speed, and obviously this champion gains movement speed from her passive, that will make her dash speed very fast in late game. So that's fine. That's a more skill-based thing. And then the ultimate, the damage of it is going down a decent amount. 50 per rank is considerable, especially at level 6 when she just gets it in lane phase. And also a 5% ability power nerf. So yeah, these are pretty much nerfs across the board, but with also kind of like giving some quality of life changes. So a very good Aurora player will use the Q recast well. They'll also use how quick she can be with her E very well. But the champion will do less damage. I'm kind of okay with that. That's fine for me. Aurelion Sol, kind of a pro jail champion, roughly. There's a few champions that you could very much deem pro jail. Obviously, the most famous one usually is Azir. But yeah, Azir, Aurelion, even Varus nowadays. Gnar, Riot has said, is quite pro jailed. Renekton, very much pro jailed. It's just the way of their kit. They can offer so much. Either like a mage like Aurelion can affect the whole map and can affect like carrying and have a team around him. It's very hard to deal with. Or then something like Renekton is that early game powerhouse. You synergize with a jungler, and then in mid game he kind of takes over and protects his hyper carry, AD carry. It just works really well in pro play, so they have to nerf them down. But then a Renekton in solo queue is like, what I do? I don't do that. But it's just the way of it. So Aurelion Sol. Aurelion Sol changes last patch ended up making him stronger than we wanted to. So we're addressing that to boost in power with some direct nerfs to ensure that he doesn't spike too hard quickly. So cost per second of his Q is going up, so it's more mana hungry, so he can't just use it all the time and can't hold it down as often. The Astral Flight, obviously this was a great change and they're instantly nerfing it to the ground. So yeah, his W already is going back to 1500. It could also get to 1900. That's going away. The E is going up in mana cost. So a lot of mana cost changes and also less utility of his W range. He's still going to be strong. You know, this isn't affecting his damage, and that's his bread and butter, but it's affecting a lot of his utility or his mana costs, which hurt him in the long run. But there's that. Cassiopeia, a very annoying champion. Now, the thing with Cassiopeia is, it's, again, when I say if a champion's easy or hard, it's hard to kind of say that as like, this champion is easy for everyone. Obviously, we are all very different players. I played Cassiopeia the other day. I think she's a very easy champion. And the problem is she's harder in mid than she is top. What? Ow, I just kicked my own chair. Ow. A lot of bad players, and I will kind of just say it as it is, have been taking her top lane. That they kind of know that they can't really play great. And Cassio is in essence an automatic win against 90% of top laners. Like, she just is. It's so difficult. If you're playing a typical bruiser, fighter, or tank in top lane, you can't beat a Cassio. Even if it's a bad Cassiopeia, she would be hard-pressed to muck up that lane. And that's really annoying because she's not supposed to be a top laner. So I'd imagine there's some nerfs to kind of either bully her out of top lane or just hurt the champion in general, because she still is very powerful in mid. I played her the other day in mid lane, and she's very strong. We ended up carrying that game, and she's very powerful. And then I played a Darius game where we were against a Cassio, and that was one of the most awful experiences in the world, but we eventually won the game. But anyway, so her base stats, her mana base is going down, and her mana growth is going down. Whoa, that's quite rare. Normally, if your mana goes down, they actually normally buff the mana growth. Straight up nerf to both of them. Oof, that hurts. And by the way, I'm taking these off because my headache is starting to take quite bad effect. The Q, Noxus Blast, mana cost of it is going down starting on rank 2, which again, don't be surprised because again, these are big changes. So if you didn't affect the mana costs in a positive way, that would really hurt Cassio. The damage of it, though, is massively going down in terms of scaling. So the base damage is staying the same, but it's a 90% ability power ratio. It's going to 70%. A 20% AP ratio nerf is big. That's a really big nerf. And then the W, Miasma, the mana cost of it is also going down, starting at rank 2, again reflecting the mana costs that are happening up here. Twin Fang, the mana cost of it is being flattened to 40, so that's, again, a lot less than it used to be, which, again, is your spammable ability, but the damage of it, once again, is going down. So some people may say, what's the point of even doing this, then, if all the mana costs are going down? In essence, it's to hurt her actual mana pool as a whole, that she can't just stick around all the time, and she can't just, like, oh, right, on 1 or 2 waves, I'll just not use my mana, level up, and then I'll be okay. No, this will basically force a Cassio to have to base more often. She'll definitely need a Tear of the Goddess. But yeah, she'll need a Tear. She'll need a mana item first, other than Tear. And obviously a lot of them build, you know, Seraphs and stuff like that anyway. But yeah, it's basically to hurt her lane dominance, that having so much mana can just bully. It's to calm that down. A lot of her damage, apart from her Q, really, a little bit of an E nerf, but again, that's a spammable ability, so it's not going to feel that bad. But yeah, this in essence is just one to calm down her bully potential. Well, in essence, what I should say is Cassio had the best of both worlds. She was a lane bully that also hyperscaled, kind of like Tristana was, and still kind of is. But what they did is the exact same thing. How did they get rid of Tristana in mid? They hurt her mana. And, you know, they want Cassiopeia to be mid. They don't want her to be top. And in top lane, she bullies a lot more often because she's playing against things she's not supposed to as melee champions. Well, this will make her not be able to bully them as hard because her mana will just go bye-bye. Because it's a smaller mana pool. These are good changes. I like it. Cassiopeia players are probably going to freak out. Ezreal, Q damage decreased. Okay, so not a big nerf. Again, he has been very popular in both mid and AD carry this patch. I would still hold to what I've said even recently. Would I recommend playing him? Not really. I think he is still on the much harder end of AD carries to pull off, and the average player probably can have better results playing a much simpler AD carry like Jinx. But if you're good on the champion, he's very strong. So his physical damage, base damage is staying the same. The AP ratio is staying the same, but a 10% AD nerf to his Q. So bit of a Q, kind of taking the top again. Riot, trust me, they won't want Ezreal really weak. And for those that are like, really? Yeah, so historically, if you go on any like website that tracks picked champions in League of Legends, regardless of his strength, Ezreal was one of the most played champions at any given time in League of Legends. Literally, he could be weak and he is still probably top 3 played champions in League. He's very fun to play. They don't want that to go away, and, you know, it kind of goes into the conspiracy tinfoil hat a little bit, but he has some of the most, you know, of an individual champion, he has the highest count of skins, or one of. They want those type of champions to be strong for obvious reasons. So there's that. Aurelia, base health increased and health growth decreased. Okay, early game buff. Aurelia's early game has 2 small issues. First, she has too little control over winning and losing her matchups. Interesting. And second, her overall sustain is so high that it's often too hard to interact with her as an opponent. They slightly contradict each other, but okay. This patch, we're trying to make Aurelia's laning phase more dynamic. She can be poked out more reliably, but she has more upfront power in order to win the fights that she takes. There's a weird way of going about it, I would say, but okay. So yeah, she has higher base health, so if you just go for an all-in scrap at level 1 or level 2, she has more health, but her health regen is a lot less, so if you can just poke her down, she won't be regenning as much. But obviously, a lot of her strength of regen isn't just standing still and waiting for it to regen, it's her Q, and she rushes Blade of the Ruined King, a lifesteal item. Yeah, I don't really see this as a massive nerf, I kind of see this more as a buff, but anyway. Leona, passive damage decreased, W damage decreased. I do not mind this. I've played some Leona recently, and yeah, in the good content I've recorded, I played a Leona game, and yeah, her damage is higher than it probably should be, so I'm kind of okay with this nerf. And it's a decent nerf. That's a decent amount of damage just off a passive, but she's a support that's not supposed to do damage. Again, the game is still too high damage skewed at the moment, you know? And I will say, I don't watch all of his videos, but Freak, obviously, think of him what you will. But he does do, obviously, breakdowns here and there. And he even said he does still believe items are too strong. They are, 100%. Items are still fundamentally more powerful than champions. That's really not what it should be. Champions should be the primary strength of the game. It's much easier to balance when champions are the primary strength and items are the secondary. But that's kind of not what it is anymore. And obviously, it's gotten better, but it's still not great. Magic damage as well for the W is going down, starting at rank 2. So it won't really affect any like level 1 and not really level 2 all-ins, because you'll only have 1 rank of W anyway, and you might at level 3 get your W. So it really won't affect her absolute early game, but still. Shyvana, obviously very powerful champion. I've played a bit of this champ here and there. I do like Shyvana, but even I will admit, her AP build over the course of the last few years, it's not been most healthy. I do think this champion could do with a rework, and I'd be completely fine if they just removed AP Shyvana as a whole. I think, you know, if you wanted to rework this champ, they could just make her an AD bruiser, but I just don't know if they ever will. Like, imagine, and this is what I've always said, and I'm not saying it as a dig, but imagine right now there will be one-trick Shyvana players that only play AP. That's all they play. They are an AP Shyvana one-trick, but you know they're getting a nerf here. But like where some people have said, oh, they should just get rid of AP BAD. Well, then you're kind of wiping those players out, because fundamentally AD Shyvana is very different to AP. AD is much harder to play because you're actively having to auto attack and stay on top of targets, where Shyvana AP jumps on, hits her E, one-shots everything. It's not that difficult. And I'll say that, and I play Shyvana. But yeah, so the base damage is going up. So it's higher base damage, but it's a... and this is E, obviously, without being dragon mode. It was a 40% total AD. It's 50% and a 10% AP nerf. So they're just skewing slight strength away from AP to AD. Now, the only thing I see with this is I had a Shyvana today in my games, and she was doing the full AP squishy build. Typically, the really good Shyvanas are no longer doing that build. The really good Shyvanas are doing the hybrid build of the Spear of Shojin into the AP. Well, that build, which are the better Shyvana players, won't be as affected by this nerf because they've got AD with Spear, and then they go over AP and Leondres and stuff after. So this is probably just going to kind of get rid of like the absolute AP build, is if I had to guess. And then the art empowered, so the damage, the dragon mode. The again base is the same, and it's obviously going from 70% total AD to 100, so a 30% damage buff, and then it's 120% AP to 100%. Yeah, 100%. This is just better for the hybrid Shyvana build. Well, again, I'm not saying the full AP build is going to be garbage. It probably still will do a lot of damage, but this is just the build that's already in existence. The hybrid build is probably just better now. And then the R empowered damage over time, that obviously when you're in dragon form, it leaves a circle that is doing... it's just straight up a buff for the AD of it. So the AP is staying the same for the pool of fire, but it's just doing more damage for AD. Yeah, wow. And in the bug fixes, damage over time no longer states that it deals 12% more damage than it really does. There's that. So yeah, hybrid Shyvana, the way forward to go, and that's the build that I was already doing anyway. Skarner, base health growth increased, Q mana cost decrease, and E no longer grabs targets behind Skarner. Oh, that's good. So again, he's been buffed, he's been nerfed, he's been obnoxious, he's been weak. They're trying to get him in a state of just kind of norm, but it's going to be hard. His kit is very strong fundamentally. It's a modern kit. Modern kits are typically stronger than older kits. But we'll see how it goes. So yeah, more health growth. That's good for a Skarner. Mana cost of Q. That's always good because that's better for lane phase, better for jungles, better for everything. But then the E, and I would imagine this is a nerf because it's probably been grabbing people that it probably really shouldn't have been. So that's a nerf. So there's that. Silas. Oh, wow. We're adjusting Silas to function more like a skirmisher and less like an AP assassin. So they're going to be lowering AP ratios, but kind of preserving base damage. Interesting. So his armor's going up. So more skirmishing. Instead of just having all-in burst, he needs to be in fights longer, so therefore needs to be tankier. The Q, cooldown of it's being buffed by a second per rank, but the AP ratio is going down by 10%. And the explosion damage, which is obviously the chain goes down at the end or wherever you're targeting it, there's an explosion. That's just doing less damage base and AP ratio. W, which obviously is a big part of this guy's kit. Oh, that's how they're doing it. Whoa. The heal, by base is staying the same. It's a 15% AP nerf, which is huge for a heal nerf. But it will do a 5% bonus heal. And again, bonus heal is only the health. Bonus health. Bonus health is only the health that you are getting from buying items. So none of your base health counts. So you need to buy health items to get that benefit. And then the damage of his W is also going down by 10% AP ratio. So he'll be tankier because you're, less damage, but because you're being forced to change your build into a health build, he'll survive longer. And instead of just one-shotting somebody with one W, maybe he needs to survive long enough to skirmish and stuff that he needs to do 2 Ws to kill somebody instead of 1. And then the E, the damage of it, oh my god, these are proper nerfs. 20% AP nerf to his E. I'm going to be straight up, like, this champion is strong, obviously, but I'm not sure the buffs are actually big enough to warrant the nerfs he's been given. We'll see, but that's interesting. Talon, Q now lands closer to the target, so short range cast, no dash within 150 units of target. It's just consistency. There's that. Varus, again, another champion that kind of seems pro-locked, that when he's strong, pro takes over him, and then he inevitably gets nerfed to the ground. So you can see here, like, without dominating pro play, that's always on their mind with this champion. So base AD increased, passive attack speed bonuses increased, and W on hit damage decreased though. Varus, I don't know. I find him a little bit boring. I find his lethality build wildly boring. And considering they're nerfing on hit and they're buffing base attack damage stuff, I'm kind of worried that it's just going to be lethality again, and that kind of sucks. But we'll see. Or AP. They both are very just Blair. And also, I've got something in my eye, so excuse that. There we go. Yasuo, obviously the more skillful of the two Win brothers, and obviously did take quite a big hit when Lethal Tempo went bye-bye. Base armor increased and E damaged increased. So just straight up buffs for the Yasuo. But again, I think Yasuo is a skill-based champion. I don't lose to a Yasuo and automatically kind of go, well, the champion got me there, unlike a Yone. I do think Yasuo is actually hard to pull off. Well, harder to pull off. So his armor's going up by 2, which obviously helps him in his primary... Well, what would you even say Yasuo's primary lane even is nowadays? I see a lot of them playing AD carry bot lane, to be honest. And I don't mind that being his main lane. He is an AD carry, he's just melee. So I don't mind it. The damage of his E is going up 10... Well, 10 at the early game. And then a lot more in late game. 30 damage of base up. And then bonus damage per stack is being... Well, you get more bonus damage straight away. That's really good for early game Yasuo. That's going to help his early game a lot with fighting. And then rune recommendation, top and mid lane recommended runes have been updated. Yone, the less skillful of the Win brothers, where the champion kit does more than the player. Q damage increased and R cooldown increased at higher ranks. So again, Lethal Tempo did hurt both of these champions. But yeah, the damage of his Q is going up in the early game. And then the ultimate, though, is getting a nerf that he won't be able to use it as often. I'm okay with that. Mr. Z, obviously I played him the video earlier today. Again, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. He felt okay, is what I would say. I was from memory against a Lucian, and again, a lot of people, yes, before this patch at least, AD carries in mid and top and bot, they are the most powerful class. But an assassin should beat an AD carry. And a lot of people that are just running and playing Lucian mid or Ezreal mid or Zeri mid, they don't know how to play these champions. They're just playing them because they're OP in those roles. So as someone that is good at Zed historically, I should beat somebody who's just picking up Lucian mid. At least in my opinion. But anyway. Q Shuriken, the damage of it is getting nerfed, but it's a base damage buff starting at rank 2, but it's a 10% AD ratio nerf. So it's worse for his late game, but it's still fine. Like, he'll still one-shot the targets he's supposed to one-shot. That's the point. And there's ultimate death mark. The cooldown of it is also going up in late game, so he could do it too often. Very much punishing an AD carry more and more and more, but there's that. And that's the champions. Fair enough. Items, Death Stance, more armor. Don't see many people be buying Death Dance, so I think that's fine. You know, I'd say Darius is the main champion that I see buy it. Kraken Slayer. So this is obviously a key item on many AD carries. Not all, like, you know, you don't see Israel buy it, but movement speed of it is going down, so nerfing it. And then bring it down 140 to 310 of what? Oh, maybe this is like the tank killing. Oh, sorry. I dropped my glasses. Maybe this is the tank killing property or something. But yeah, they're nerfing the item for ranged champions. So whatever this is, 140 to 310, which I believe is whatever the, you know, your third auto. I think it's that. It's less effective if you're a ranged champion. And this is an AD carry item. That's a bit weird. To me, that's basically saying it is too powerful for ranged AD carries, but it's not so powerful for the melee AD carries like Yasuo, who may like this item. Okay. Lord Dom's less armor pen, so it was doing a bit too much armor pen, so there's that. Less attack damage for Mortal Reminder. Static Shiv is being nerfed, which again, this has been a very popular rush item on a lot of the strong AD carries. So it's less movement speed, so it's less utility, more likely that they'll get hurt by a jungle gank. And it's 100 gold more. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that will hurt its cost effectiveness because they're getting less stats and it's becoming more expensive. And 100 gold doesn't seem like a lot, but a lot of AD carries and a lot of champions in any role, the moment that you can get your first item, you go back straight away. So 100 gold, that could just delay them an extra wave, you know? It's a nerf, but there's that. And obviously, a lot of the time, people are buying Static Shiv and Kraken Slayer. So it will feel it. Storm Surge. So yeah, Storm Surge kind of sucks. It was really OP at the beginning of the year. It sucks nowadays. They nerfed it way too hard, and it was supposed to be nerfed, by the way. It was way too OP at the beginning of the year. So Storm Rage. And by the way, I will say part of why I think Burst Mages have sucked for the last couple months is they were really good right at the beginning of the year. If people remember that, mainly thanks to Storm Surge. But you had Fizz one-shotting everything, Galio one-shotting everything. I think Riot got scared. And they just really heavily nerfed burst items for mages. Maybe they're slowly starting to bring them back. Because again, burst mages are the natural thing to deal with strong AD carries. But anyway, so the Storm Raider bonus movement speed, you're going more movement speed. And the Squall ranged modifier, which again is, I think, the damage. So it's basically better for ranged mages. So the reason why they're only doing it for ranged modifier, they don't want this item to suddenly be, oh, Fizz is back one-shotting everything, or Galio, or Diana, Echo. So they're being careful with those groups of champs because they were the main groups of champs that were broken at the beginning of the year in terms of burst. But they're trying to be like, hey, mage who needs to do burst, I see you. It's a bit better for you now. Cool. So that's fine. Cosmic Drive, more health and more movement speed. So, meh. It's nice, but again, doesn't give direct damage, but I'll take it. There's not many champions I buy this item on, it has to be said, but a buff is a buff for a mage item, so I'm happy. Hextech Rocket Belt, more health, so again, more utility, tankier. Again, I don't buy this. Again, to be honest, I don't play a lot of mages anymore because the class has been awful. But if I do deem the class being good again, I will start playing mages again. That's the point. But they can't be good unless their items are good. That's the point. Void Staff, more ability power. It's not going to do a lot. So, yeah, exciting piece for burst mages. But 5%, oh, sorry, 5 ability power is not going to do a whole lot. Null Mantle Magic. Null Magic Mantle. Okay, so this is also supposed to be helping mages, because, you know, let's be honest, if you're playing Lucian mid and you're against a LeBlanc, you'll just buy an early Null Mantle and you'll probably be kind of okay. But they're making it cheaper, which might seem counterintuitive, but they are lessening how much individual magic resist the items got. And then here we actually have the main boot changes. So the total price is going up and the magic resist is going down. So that is straight up a nerf. So it's about 200 gold in total price and stats. So it's just becoming worse. I'm fine with that. Boots, I think, are too consistently good. I like boots being movement speed, but like the fact that they are so powerful in terms of a defensive item is a bit meh. This will be interesting to see if these get a nerf, because I will laugh my head off if Merc Treads get a nerf, the Plated Steel Caps or Ninja Tabby get a nerf, but then the Berserker, the AD Carry one, is fine. It is getting a nerf, thank God. So less attack speed on the boot. So that's good, at least. Ionian is going up in expense and also giving less summoner saves. So basically, they do think boots are giving too much value for a little while. So you're seeing here, the way that they're deeming it is 200 gold of value is going off this boot. 150 gold of this boot. 100 gold of this boot. Plated Steel Caps. Oh, is this one a buff? Wait, what? Interesting. So it's becoming more expensive, but this is the only boot so far that is becoming more expensive, but is giving more. The plating was 8%. It's now going to 10. So we generally buffed steel caps back in 14.10 by making it cheaper, giving it more armor, and taxing the anti-attack passive lightly. It's so strong that it's become a default pick in many AD versus AD lanes. making the lane more about punishing in the wave as fast as possible and less about interactions. By bringing its overall gold efficiency back down, it'll be slightly weaker than the 49 version. Huh? So, like, it's a 200 gold nerf, sure, but its plating is going up. Isn't that good? Am I missing something? Let me know if I'm missing something. I feel stupid right now. Magic Pen is going down for the Sork boots. Kind of the only boot that I think probably shouldn't have got a nerf, to be honest, but there's that. But it's a small nerf, and hence why. No cost in... no change in cost of it, because, again, it's the Mage boot. It's not as good. Boots of Swifties, more expensive. Whoa, they're not changing these. Wow. So they are quite a powerful boot, but they're situational. And that's the thing. They're situational on certain champions and certain playstyles, and they probably don't have enough data, or they just don't have enough champions that build the boot to care about it right now. That's fine. Wit's End. Wit's End had its on-hit damage scaled back when it used to give flat attack damage as well, which made it overbearing in lane against magic damage champions. Now that the AD is gone, it's become somewhat of a trap as an early purchase. By smoothing out its early game damage, it should once again be viable as a first item. Hasn't seemed that bad to me, so there's that. Abyssal Mask, total price is going up. The Unmake Magic Resist Shield is going up, and the Unmake Aura Radius is going up. Okay. So the income tanks are ones. So yeah, a significant boost to the MR Shred Aura with a moderate increase in price should... Hello, puppies. You're excited. In price should not only make magic damage tanks happy, but also give players an option when they find their composition is too magic heavy. So if you're very magic heavy, you should be buying one of these items in essence. Runes. We adjusted Dark Harvest last month to make it a high-risk option that rewards early dominance. Our hope was to make it slightly stronger than it was before, which didn't quite happen. So we are delivering some direct buffs to the runes. So the cooldown is being lessened, so you can stack it more often. And the on takedown reset timer is going to 1 second. Cool. Buffs to Dark Harvest, which again could be burst magey, but a lot of people just go electrocute anyway because it's more consistent. Fleet footwork. So Fleet is providing too much early safety, making champions who have an early advantage run over their lane opponents with pure sustain. This patch, we're lowering the early healing on Fleet and backloading it until level 14 plus. So yeah, they're just calming it down in early game, but it will still be good later into the game as sustain. So there's that. Arena, don't really care to read them in patch notes at least. Again, I'm not really playing Arena anymore. Are you guys playing it? I'm not. I'm playing Swarm still a little bit. I'm playing ARAM every now and then. But yeah. Is that it? I think that's it. Oh, ranked queue. Oh, what's this? Oh, this is quite big too. This is really big. Why did they put it at the bottom? Right. This is to try and help the ranked ladder in terms of integrity with fresh accounts. I'm completely, utterly fine with this change. So, there are still botted accounts in League of Legends, and you know, Vanguard has hurt that production 100%, but they are still happening. A lot of them are having to level an ARAM now to try and be less obvious, because it was very obvious when they were leveling in co-op versus AI. However, when these accounts are sold, because they've been botted, they are sold with no normal games. Maya's barking more. No normal games, and the player goes straight into ranked, and basically a while ago, Riot basically said that your normal games have a little inkling of determining where you start in ranked, or the players that you get initially. But obviously, when it comes to a botted account, they don't have that data because it's played no normal games. Now, an account must be level 30, must own 20 or more champions, and have played 10 games, normal Summoner's Rift queues, in order to actually play ranked. And basically what this does is two things. One, if the player is not going to just troll and they play the normal games, it will kind of give an inkling to what the player is like. And when they go into rank, they'll kind of straight away not be in a total like noob experience because, hey, you're a smurf. And then secondly, it actually could get the account banned in those 10 normal games. A lot of these botted accounts do actually get banned pretty quick, but they play a few ranked games before it. Well, now they might get banned in those 10 normal games before they even can get in ranked. So this is a net positive for the League of Legends player base as a whole. This is very good. So thumbs up from me. They should have made it a bigger thing, but there's that. Adjustment to queue declining. So yeah, you can't decline queue as often. So yeah, we've noticed more players abusing the decline button to manipulate which games they will get into for the nefarious purposes. Win trading. But again, just to make it very clear, win trading only happens in the upper echelons of League. I had it today. I beat an opponent, and then when I looked at what the enemy team was saying, they were like trying to say one of their teammates was win trading. No, there's no win trading in Emerald. There's no win trading in Plat. Win trading is only something that you can realistically do in minimum Master, pretty much higher than Master, really. Got Grandmaster and Challenger, because you have to consistently be with the same people all the time, and that doesn't happen unless you're high rating. So for those that go, how does this help that? Basically, you're on Discord with the person that you're win trading with officially in, let's say, Challenger. You both click start queue straight away, and you both say, hey, my queue pop did yours. And if it didn't, well, then you're not in the same game. So they're clicking decline. So basically, you can't do that as much now. So in essence, it's punishing that. And I think that's going to be it. So that is it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this patch note. A fairly long one. Nothing absolutely crazy. I will say I don't see the absolute nerfs that people like. Again, I don't read these patch notes beforehand. I like to react to them as I'm making the video. And I did have a couple of people say to me going, oh, AD carries won't be in mid anymore. I don't really see that. I don't see them being nerfed out too badly, to be honest. But we'll see. But anyway, that's gonna be it. If you guys enjoyed, as always, please do throw a like on the video, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime.